So far in this low-budget classic motorcycle restoration series, we've seen the starting point for this project and built the engine up most of the way. Today, we're assembling the clutch to move the everyday bike project along. As usual, there'll be a few other jobs to do here and there, just to keep life interesting. Let's get started.
Okay, we've got a new Kickstarter ratchet now. I showed you last time where the teeth have been rounded off, where someone's not engaged the Kickstart properly and kicked it. It sort of misses and chonks into the next tooth. Well, if you look at the new one in comparison to the old one, you can see there's a big difference. Always check that. We've got both gears on this block. You're probably wondering what it is. It's an engineer's block. It means it's a true surface, very heavy, and it gives you an absolute true reading. It's just very useful. You could put a cylinder head on here and you'll see whether it's distorted or anything. Right, I'm going to install this Kickstarter gear. There's a spring behind, so it's sprung loaded. Then we put the front face on now. These teeth are fine, they're not worn, so I didn't replace that. As I said, I'm not wasting money on this. This locates onto the spline. Just got to pick it up where the spline is now. There you go. And you'll see if I run my finger on here, you can see how that works. Now we have a tab washer. You have the nut. The tab washer sits on the flat face. On there. So right, we're just going to tighten this up. All I've got to do is just hold the back of that shaft. You could torque this up, but it's just got to be tight. Okay, we're just going to need to roll over the tab washer. You've got this cutaway on this part of the gear here. So just tap that over evenly. Okay, it's just so the tab washer can't rotate. And then what we do is just pull one of the ears down. You might have to do it with a pair of grips as they go onto the nut. Just pull that down. That one's left for another time. So that won't come off now. Okay, we're going to start building the clutch up now. First thing it's really got to go on is the primary chain. It's a triplex chain. Now, this one was in a box of spare parts, and I think this is a better chain. I'm just going to give it a good check. The way of checking is to get your chain, and you see what side movement you got, and you can see the link plates and the rollers, see how much movement there is. This one was covered in grease. It didn't appear to be as worn as the other. I tried to get the grease out of it, and I'm thinking now, actually, the original one probably is better. I think probably as this chain came off, it's going to go back on because it would have bedded into these gears. When you've got the chain on, just make sure that your spring clip is on the right way around. Direction of the chain is this direction. Forward direction, obviously engine rotation, and make sure that the closed end of the chain link is running that way round. Never runs with the open part, the link forward, clip forward, always with the closed. It won't come off that way because it's always going to be pulled back. Right, first thing we've got to do, we've got to put the thrust washer on the back of the clutch centre, and it always goes with the bronze facing you. Now we could put a bit of oil on first. We're mounting this engine, or the clutch rather, back into this engine with the engine on its side. I wouldn't normally do this, it's just so that you can see it with the camera. I would normally have it the right way up. But what is useful is having one of these engine stands. It really is a must. So we put that on there like that. Put a bit of oil around the outside of that as well. Right, we now need to build up the clutch basket with the engine sprocket with the duplex chain. The easiest way is to make sure that your joining clip is the right direction, obviously when it goes on. So we wrap this around the sprocket on the clutch basket. It's on the chain wheel. Then we put our crankshaft sprocket in the front. Hold the two together. And it should go straight down. Just got to rotate that and pick up the spline on the crankshaft. Like that. So that's in place now. Now we can put in the rollers around the clutch centre. So normally I do this the right way up for the engine, but it makes it easier for you to see. We need to put the alternator back in a moment, but that's in the right position. Also, we have to put this in now. This is the slipper for the chain. That goes on there like that. And when we've got the rollers in place, then we adjust this up. It should be okay. I've got the 20 rollers for the clutch centre. I'm just going to wash these out, then we pack them with grease and put them into place. Okay, we're now ready to put some grease around the centre of the clutch, so when we put the rollers in, they've got somewhere to sit. So we've got 20 rollers we're going to put in place. When you're doing this, it always pays to wash your rollers out, get all the dirt and grease off, previous grease off, and make sure they're nice and clean, because any grit that's on those rollers will end up being like grinding paste when this goes back together. And you don't want to score up the rollers or damage the faces of the clutch assembly. First plate in is friction plate. It drops in. Then we have a drive plate, which is a plain plate. The drive plate's a little bit rusty, so a little bit of 240 wet and dry. Just going to put a little bit of lubricant on here. Just try and do this quickly. They're not too bad, but okay, this is a clutch centre. It's got the shock absorbers in here, the rubbers. We're going to put this on now because we can't put the drive plates on. So this is in good order. Just got to put through the 3 bolts that the springs are pulled down onto, but I'm just going to give this a quick clean. I'm not going to put through a kerosene cleaner today. I've done it before, just going to wipe it over. This needs to go onto the spline, onto the clutch centre. We've just got to pick out three good bolts. We've got lots of bits and pieces of this bike, so we're going to pick out 3 that's straight and not bent. We'll put the 3 bolts in the bottom. We'll do one at a time. Always pays to put your spring back in and just start it off. The reason why we put the spring on the back is so that the hammerhead is not over the face of the centre here, because when we put this down, this has got to run on top of the rollers here. That's a roller surface, and if that's kissed over, this is going to be causing a basket to jam up. So always make sure that's done properly. A little bit of grease on the spline. That should go anywhere. Just got to centre it, find the spline, wiggle it down. successfully home. Just got to make sure that the washer goes on central, because it is actually got a central, it's recessed here, and that will sit on the washer. Centre nut we get really tight. We use the air gun on that. There is no tab washer. That is a locking nut, and I pulled it up really tight onto that washer underneath. That's the clutch centre all in. Now we can build up our clutch properly. Okay, just reference, we put in the friction plate first, and then you have a drive plate. As long as you keep that order, you're fine. Just a little bit of oil on the plates between, not too much, because when we come to put the whole thing together, you don't want that consistency of oil to stop you from getting it adjusted correctly. Yeah, just a tiny bit of oil on the plates, don't need a lot. With the wet and dry, if you keep coating this with a light oil spray, it doesn't matter what you use really, you can use one of the well-known brands. It just stops the paper from wearing out, and it'll hold it in the paper, as you can see there. I'm rubbing it and you can see it come to the surface. Last plate, the last drive plate here, you know which one this is, because there'd probably be a mark around where the outside of the clutch drum itself comes onto that plate, holds onto there. You can see it's got a line around it. So that pressure plate there, we call it drum pressure plate, will be on that part of the drive plate. So we clean this one up, this can go on. Then we can take our screws back out now. There's 3 little cups here on this clutch assembly. They've got a slight ear. It's like an ear shape there that recesses into that open slot. Just want to make sure they're located where they should be. Okay, we're now putting the springs in and the outer screws on, but we can't adjust this clutch until the engine's back in the frame, because then we'll have the clutch cable on and we can operate that, and you'll see the clutch being disengaged and you'll see the pressure plate running in line or not in line to start with, and we have to balance it up, but we can just put this on as a pre-tension. This is the correct clutch adjusting tool, shaped like that because if the screw is screwed in below the surface of the stud that's coming up through, it'll recess in there. A screwdriver blade, you'll get to a point where you won't get a grip on it. So you can keep going with these things. It's a proper service tool. Okay, the next bit to go on now is the rotor, the stator assembly. So we'll put on the rotor now onto the keyway. That follows on behind the sprocket, holds that in place. Well, this now is the alternator assembly, the windings. So we've got this tube here, we just need to try and feed this down through. That's on. We need to put a tab washer on here Just looking through the selection of tab washers, the new ones, I haven't got in that set one that's the right one. The nearest one to it was this one here, which is different. Okay, this has a location that goes in the end of the keyway on the rotor assembly. So that is serviceable. Then we can tighten this nut up properly. Right, so we got to this stage. I did just pull this nut down, but it's supposed to have a special washer that is missing. So I've just taken the nut back off. I'll turn something up on the lathe, we'll make a special washer up. It's quite a fat one. We're just going to quickly adjust up the primary chain. So this bolt will wind onto this skid carrier. And now the chain, I've got that sort of movement. I'm going to leave that at that. We just lock this off. And when we come to actually put the engine back in the frame, when we turn it over properly and adjust the clutch up, we can recheck this. So it just gives you an idea where we are. Here we can see we have everything built up now. We have the alternator on in the rotor, nothing's fouling up, the clutch is all together, drive chain, and it all turns over nice and smooth.